supply customers with special equipment or even websites or links or even applications to so that it helps them manage different type of services which the company provides with the products. Like for example, when you are going to buy a printer, you must have seen that HP decides to give you a sort of a registration. That is, you are supposed to register your product with the Hewlett Packard website. When you do that, basically what happens is they try to keep a track of how many type of prints you have taken from your printer. So they have a counter which exactly runs similar to every time you make a printout from your machine that is connected to your computer. It takes actually a track of how many prints. So let's say, for example, the cartridge can last for something like around 1000 prints. So when it is nearing something like around 950 prints, the message automatically goes to the backend web server, a Hewlett Packard server associated with your IP address linked to your machine or machine ID. What happens is the moment the HP comes to know that you've taken about 950 prints, it starts giving you a message. That is a reminder that please, it's time for you to change your printer cartridge so that you can continue printing. So you please come and shop with us. Now, at that point of time, what happens is you are given this reminder and you really don't know how did they come to know that your cartridge is getting over. Technically, this is because of the institutional ties that they have created with you towards the service provision along with the product that you exactly have been actually sold. Now, what happens is you would be at that point of time trying to see what exactly are the options for getting your computer cartridge refilled. So it says that we are going to give you a discount, we are going to give you a loyalty program, we're going to give you a loyalty bonus. You please order cartridges from us. So the moment you decide to take a sort of an extension of the product and the service, you decide to use their offers. When you try to order the services of the parent company, you end up being their loyal customer and you are buying repeat product from them. This is how they end up building the loyalty with customers. We also discussed something on the aspect of brand communities, wherein we try to see specialized community of consumers and employees whose identification and activities are focused across brands. Like for example, you have got Harley Davidson Group. This has become more of the brand has become more of a cult, where basically people have got this type of accessories, they have these type of riding gears, they have the riding boots, they have got jackets, they've got helmets, they've got shades, they've got different type of gloves, which exactly are, all of them are embossed with Harley Davidson. So effectively, they exactly do different type of festivals, Harley Davidson festivals. Then they do something called a riding. They would be going out for doing outdoor riding and so on and so forth. So they are roadies as well. So these basically are aspects that are actually, they end up the brand, they create communities out of people who exactly are using their products and services, and employees whose identification and activities are focused around the very brand. So effectively, if you have the word Harley Davidson, basically there's somewhere or the other connected with this sort of a icon motorbike that exactly is there. And you find that there are so many people who exactly are associated with this brand community, and that they have proudly display that they basically are, their lifestyle is represented by the lifestyle which exactly is being focused by the brand. Now we would be looking at some sort of a value creation practices which exactly are happening over a period of time. So let us look exactly at some of the value creation practices. We basically would be looking at something called as social networking is one of them. Second is impression management. Third of them is community engagement. And the fourth is called as brand use. So very quickly, let us try to see what we mean by each of these subsections. We would be talking about creating this aspect of social networking. Now, when you're talking about social networking, we basically are talking about networking within the community, the society. We basically are creating a sort of a new member. When a new member joins the society, we welcome him. We have got a situation, or we've got a problem, or we've got a challenge. We empathize with other members of the community because there is something which is commonly connected with the brand or service that we are using, and we end up governing. That is, we exactly try to moderate the behavior of the entire community, micro community, which exactly is connected with the brand or the product or the service which exactly it serves. So effectively, this is the outcome of social networking, and you create this sort of a value creation practice with a specific type of a product or a brand. Then comes something which is called as impression management. That is, we try to evangelize or justify a person's impression and the personality. It rubs off on the brand. So brand's personality rubs off on the person who exactly the consumer of that personality, and vice versa. So effectively, somebody like, for example, Harley Davidson, if somebody is associated with Harley Davidson, he cannot be a person who would be sitting indoors. He would be a person who would be liking outdoors, who would be trying adventure sports, who would be trying motoring. And these exactly are associated with the brand. So basically, you evangelize and justify the content which exactly is presented by the brand. Then comes some sort of a community engagement. That is, you start doing some sort of staking, milestoning, badging, and documenting. So, what exactly are the different festivals that you create? What exactly are the different activities that you create? How do you go out engaging with the friends who exactly are of the same community? How do you decide to represent the brand's personality on the different activities that you intend to do? How do you try to emboss yourself with the association that you have with the brand? And how do you document it? And how do you put your experiences and the type of blogs and the different type of activities that are associated with the product? You try to put it on the different website for everybody to actually share and enjoy, or even recommend that basically they want to be a part of the community towards the different activities that we done. So that basically another important value creation practice which exactly happens with community engagement. Now we come to the fourth important aspect towards value creation practice, which is called as brand use. That is grooming, customizing, and commoditizing. So that is, you end up trying to create something new. You try to create an extension, you try to create a diversification, and you try to create an extension of the brand. You try to make some sense of it, or you try to link with other products and services. Like, for example, I said that you have got gloves, you've got helmets, you've got riding gears, you've got boots, you've got jackets. All these products, they basically have nothing to do with Harley Davidson. But basically, since this exactly is customized according to the brand which exactly is in use. So effectively, this is also a type of value creation practice of the brand, and then the brand becomes grows, starts growing, and the fanfare continues. So effectively, this exactly is a very important aspect towards creating value and creating a loyalty factor with the customer. We did talk about something on customer relationship management, and you must have heard about this term called CRM. Now, CRM technically is a process of carefully managing detailed information about individual customers and all customer touch points to maximize loyalty. That is how well you know your customer. So that exactly comes down to customer value management. Now, it is very important, that is, if you really care about your customer, you will know the customer. And that is exactly what the purpose of customer relationship management is all about. So effectively, it starts with the entire reason as to how the customer effectively connects with the product or the brand. What are the questions the customer raises? What are the queries that the customer has? How does the customer identify the brand and its association with its own personality? All these things are very important for a customer relationship management process, and the CRM, that is the customer relationship manager, tries to take down individual details about the customer touch points, as we call, in order to connect with the customer. Let's say, for example, the customer is very conscious about the price, so we would be categorizing that customer as an economy customer. There's a second customer who's whose important say, is quality. So then we would be categorizing the second customer in the domain of quality conscious customer. There's a third customer who comes and says that for me, branding is an important issue. So of course, this third customer comes within the domain of branding. The fourth customer who comes and says that what I want is value for money. Now, this is exactly another customer who exactly has a different type of a touch point. So effectively, we try to segregate customers on the basis of different type of the touch points or the individual characteristics that they represent when they interact with the products process. So let's say, for example, if I have profiled all these customers on the basis of the different touch points or the detailed information about these individual customers. So next time when I go with a product, I will tell the customer, look, this is the product. If I try to want to push the product, I will use the customer relationship management information in order to target the customer. So let's say, for example, the economy customer, I will say, go and say that this is the most economic product to own among all the competing brands which are available, and this exactly is the effective total cost and the entire cost over its lifetime, and it is going to be very viably economically viable product for you to consume or to buy or to purchase. For another person, I might say that this exactly brand is a unique brand, and this will going to give you a unique identity if you own this product. For the third one, I might try to go and say, because for him, quality is a very important issue. I would say that it conforms to all the quality norms, and it is one of the best quality products which is available in the market, and exactly justifies your orientation when you look at it from the quality orientation. The fourth customer, I might go and say that this exactly is a value for money, and this is how, because every customer has a different type of a orientation, and that exactly is something that they look for in the different type of products that they're buying. So an economic customer would always be looking at the economic domain or the value for money for a different type of a product they're trying to purchase. So effectively, if I know their touch points, that is out of the customer relationship management process, I would be able to pitch my product with those dimensions to actually reach out to the individual customers or the profiled customers. Then comes another important aspect which is called as customer value management. Now, what do we mean by customer value management? Uh, I would be taking you to another important a small case study. This is about Dunnhumby. Now, the British firm Dunnhumby has increased the profitability of struggling retailers by gaining insight from their loyalty program, data and credit card transaction. The firm helped British supermarket giant Tesco tailor coupons and special discounts to its loyal customers and card shoppers. Now, Tesco, they decided against dropping a poor selling type of bread after it elsewhere if it disappeared. Other US clients have included Kroger's, Macy's, and Home Depot. For a major European catalog company, Dunnhumby found that it not only did the shoppers and different body type prefer uh, different clothing styles, but also shopped at different times of the year. Now, slimmer customers tend to buy early in the new season, whereas larger folks tended to take a few risks and wait until later in the season to see what would be popular. So effectively, you see, on the basis of this customer relationship management, they were able to actually identify which type of a customer does what type of a buying at what type of season. Let's say, for example, we've got the summer season right now coming in. On the basis of this study and the research that was done towards the customer relationship management and the customer value management, they found out the study that people who are not very healthy, they were very basically thin, and people who are very like who had a very right physique and who are very slim, they would decide to buy at the starting of the season. Why? Because they felt that their body size is going to not going to change, and the style is going to be on their side because of their slim body type. But people who have a bulky body, or people who exactly are a bit bloated or a bit heavier or a bit larger in size, they would not like to take the risk and buying products early in the season. They would like to wait the season setting in. So they would wait till buying new set of clothes till summer sets in, and they would try to look at what exactly is the trend that exactly is happening, because their body size is such that they have to see that if the trend is a specific type of a fashion that is actually going to happen this season, they would make a later time purchase. Now, effectively, this piece of information can create a lot of value for people who exactly are branding their products, who exactly are managing their inventory, who exactly are managing the entire logistic and the supply chain management. Because this gives them a lot of information. And how did this information come towards customer value management? It came out of customer relationship management. So that exactly plays the vital role towards cultivating customer relationship management. And there are certain downsides as well. There's not always plus sides, but there are having certain problems also from the five main problems that can prevent a firm from effectively using a CRM. The first is some situations are just not conducive to database management. Like, for example, when you show a little loyalty to a brand, there's a lot of customer churn that happens over a period of time. Customers showing a little loyalty to a brand means there's a lot of people migrating from this brand to somebody else. Also, let's say, for example, customers' value for loyalty is low in the context of a unit sale is very small. If the unit sale size is very small, then the loyalty is also going to be very small. So let's say, for example, customers will have a higher value for high ticket items like consumer durables, or goods that customers purchase basically with a lot of decision. Let's say, for example, if you're purchasing an automobile or if you're purchasing a car, so you would like to do a lot of research to exactly purchase, because you want, it's a high ticket item and there's going to be a huge amount of value, and you're not going to purchase it every day. So you are very, very seriously considering the different type of investments that you're doing in terms of searching for the information towards the cost. The cost of search is going to be very high, because you want to get your maximizing your value for this sort of a product that you purchase. But if you're buying a chips, or if you're buying a cold drink, or if you're buying a fast moving consumer good, FMCG, I think you would not be very, very serious about this, because this is an impulsive purchase. You want to buy a chips, a packet of chips, you don't care how the taste is going to be, if it's going to be good. So you would like to give it a shot, you want to try it. And if you feel that this is not going to be of real value, you might not buy it next time. So effectively, this is very important in the context of how. Also, you must have heard, because we exactly have packaging has come into a big way in terms of the product plus. Now, packaging actually takes care of some sort of sampling also. So let's say, for example, you want to buy a specific type of a shampoo, or you want to buy a specific type of let's say, um, a deodorant, a hair cream, or a dental cream, something of that sort. So you basically would like to go and sample it. So you would not like to buy a whole big bottle of, let's say, a 500 ml or something, or 300 ml bottle, but you'd like to try it out first. Now, how do you do it? So you can look for a small sachet, a small shampoo sachet, or a small packet, that's a pouch of shampoo. You might like to purchase that, try it out and see whether it actually conforms to your requirement, according to your taste, according to liking. And if you feel that it does, so that basically tries to create some sort of a value management. That exactly is where we try to see that we try to represent this sort of a focused approach, that we try to give you something for free and you want to try it out. So that anytime when you buy a product, you get some product free, in order to actually try it out and see whether how you feel about it. And that basically saves you a lot of trauma from investing in a product without actually knowing about its products and services. So this is one of the downsizes of CRM. Second important aspect is it may be difficult to get everyone in the company to be customer oriented and use available information. So probably everybody would not be trying to connect with the customers and use all the information that exactly is available. Not all customers want a relationship with the company. Now, many times people feel that it's going to be an intrusion into your privacy, that I don't want to unnecessarily give a lot of information about the products that I'm buying. For example, if I would like to go and shop in McDonald's or in Pizza Hut, why should I share my mobile phone number with them? I don't want to be bugged down with unnecessary offers, or what exactly are some of the offers which are there, because I feel that whenever I want to go and have my pizza or like chips or whatever, or any fast food, I mean, I don't need to tell me that please don't eat on Tuesday, go and eat on Wednesday because Wednesday you're going to get some sort of a discount. No, that doesn't happen like that. If I want to eat on Tuesday, I would go and eat on Tuesday. If I want it on Wednesday, I would go and eat on Wednesday. And I would check at that point of time if there is any sort of a benefit which is there, I might use it. But then how much I share my information is also contrary to customer relationship management activity, because I don't want probably an intrusion into my personal space. Now that exactly what happened today when WhatsApp, they wanted me to update their policy, and I decided to say no to it. They decided to see that the connect then some sort of a glitch happened. I really don't know what happened, and I was not able to actually connect with the Google Meet and transmit that information. I'm seeing my mobile phone is actually playing crazy with WhatsApp app as of now, but not a problem. I will sort this issue out. But it did create some sort of a glitch. It did create some sort of a problem for me. But we decided to go past the system. We wanted to actually bypass the system, and we managed to do it. But then these are some of the reasons where CRM can create some sort of a problem as well. For the downside of database marketing and CRM is also there. So not all customers want a relationship with the company that exactly they're buying the products and services for. Also, so they would. This exactly is one of the downside of CRM, and then the assumption behind CRM may not always be behind CRM may not always be true. So you never know how the data that exactly you are going to share would actually be used. Probably we don't have the factor called as trust, and high volume customers often know the value to a company and the leverage that they can towards exacting premium services and or price discounts, so that it could not cost the firm to serve them less. So what happens is I don't share information with one company, but I might like to share my information with four companies. Now, I actually am a high value customer for four of them. So that I can use to leverage greater sort of a value in terms of greater, deeper discounts, getting better offer, and getting more amount of mileage for my discussion per se. Now, this exactly is how this exactly works. So coming down to the aspect of CRM, this is actually, in a nutshell, you can say this is personalizing or permission marketing. Also, this talks about customer empowerment, customer review recommendations, and customer complaints per se. So effectively, you see, they have out here how many drinks which exactly are there, and they would like to see what type of products would you like to actually buy. So you have all a number of drinks over here, and whatever you want to buy, you actually click it. So the moment you click it, this actually records how many customers clicked on what is the time customers clicked on what is the frequency during the day that they purchase different type of drinks, which are the drinks are, like for example, sold, which exactly are the drinks which exactly are not sold, how many people purchased what type of drinks, at what time of the day they purchased what type of drinks. They might even have a small camera sitting at the back of um, this entire screen, which is capturing what type of customer is actually clicking this switch. Whether it's a male, whether it's a female, whether it's a young person, whether it's an old person, whether it's an elderly person, and all this data is actually being recorded. So effectively, just you interacting with a point of sale itself is actually a lot of data is getting created, and you basically even really don't know. So how many times you have actually done a purchase, your loyalty factor, your behavior, your shopping, your activity, all these factors can be actually recorded. And many times company use this for bettering their products, for improving the quality of their products, calculating the lifetime value, and determining the ways to increase the value to your customer base. So you have both the dimensions, positive dimensions as well as negative dimensions, which exactly are there. Now, customer relationship management also requires building a customer database and data mining in order to detect something which is called as trends, segments, individual needs, and a number of these significant risks also exists. So marketeers must proceed very, very carefully. So when you are going to become marketing executives, you have to be very careful how exactly you're going to be using these different type of information. So CRM looks to be a very interesting and activity-based orientation, but there are many pluses and minuses to it, and it would be good to look at the ethical dimensions also of the data use that exactly you are trying to do, and you should try to use it positively so that you don't unnecessarily intrude into the customer's personal space and create problems. So in the garb of database marketing, don't try to profile customers for individual. Now, it has been seen in the Indian context as well as in many domain where there are no standard laws which are there, that people end up data phishing. That is, they sell your data to data poaching is also there. That is, they sell the data that they capture from you to the different people. We have got to be very, very careful. That is why you see today when you want to actually download your Aadhaar card on the basis of your Aadhaar number from the website, they will ask you whether you want to have your photographs masked. Now, that is to protect your privacy. Also, they would not be giving your complete name. Some elements of your names would be blocked. Like, for example, if your name has 10 characters, probably the first character and the last character and the middle character would be there, and the remaining of them would be blocked. Or even your mobile phone numbers would be blocked. Some of them would be blocked, so that anybody and everybody who does not actually access your information does not actually pass on that information to somebody, because there are so many people, customers, who really have no knowledge about whom to share the information and what people can do with that information. So it is in the interest of the different organizations to see to it that they protect the information that they are extracting from the customers and sharing it for identification purposes. Also, whenever you're trying to, let's say, for example, go for a new SIM connection and you give your Aadhaar number, what happens is you get immediately a WhatsApp, you get a message, a SMS message, which says that somebody is accessing your Aadhaar number, and such and such person is accessing it, or such and such agency is accessing it. Have you given the necessary permission? And they give you an OTP. So when you share that OTP with that person, only then it means that you exactly have given the permission to share that piece of information about you with that person. Also, with the OTP, it is written that since sharing this OTP means that you have abided by the terms and conditions of this sort of a transaction, so that tomorrow you cannot go back and sue them that they have actually leaked the information, which was something very personal with you, and to a third party agency. So you have to be very, very careful when it comes to personalizing or permission marketing, or especially for, because today the customer is very empowered. Today the customer it can actually sue you if you basically are going to misuse or abuse his information. So customer reviews, recommendations. So basically, you'll just immediately go to the net and start writing a blog about how exactly this company decided to. You must have recently seen the brouhaha that happened with this delivery boy. I don't know who is exactly was at fault. Was it Zomato guy who was it a fault, or whether this lady who exactly ordered that fast food, was she at a fault? I really cannot comment on that. But everybody is taking
So maybe
sides.
that was the fault.
But then this type of things are actually an example of customer complaints, customer reviews, recommendation, customer empowerment, and personalization or permission marketing. So that's basically something that we would be having time to discuss today. I'm really sorry for the small glitch that happened in the starting of the session. Um, we exactly are coming back to stopping the share, and I would be looking at more interesting, but we will try to see that this sort of a situation does not happen, but we cannot rule it out. Now tomorrow we intend to be looking at consumer markets. That is, sorry, in the next class we'll be looking at consumer markets. So what exactly are consumers like? What exactly are some of the characteristics of consumers? What successful market requires towards consumers? We would also be profiling some of the major South Asian markets, especially like, for example, because this is actually a growing market. We've got a lot of activity which is happening. We've got a huge amount of customer base, especially in the context of customers in the domain of India, in the domain of Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, because this exactly the South Asian domain is a huge customer. We'll be looking at social factors, we'll be looking at very interesting case studies from the Indian context, of course, and it would be something very, very interesting. One of my favorite sections where I like to actually present, because of my experience in marketing in the industry as well, where I have interacted with customers, both institutional as well as domestic customers. So effectively, this is something very interesting, and I intend to look forward to interacting with you all on this topic. So we look forward to meeting all of you. It's about 12:53, and I would be signing off. And I would once again take this opportunity to express my thanks to the person concerned. I think Tosif it was who shared the today's connect with all of you, and I was I'm really very happy about you all trying to connect and join the session and be a part of this interactive mode. I would also like to extend my thanks to people who exactly are helping me with your attendances, recording the attendances. We have Osama, and we have got Atik trying to do the good job of keeping a tab on who all are connecting, and they are helping me out. So thank you very much, one and all. It has been always a pleasure interacting with all of you, and that's about it. If you have got any comments or any suggestions or any inputs, I'm always open. You can unmute your microphones and speak up. Uh, I would be sharing the syllabus. I know that is due, but we would be doing it in due course of time. I think, inshallah, by the next class, you would be having the syllabus out there, so that you can actually keep a track of what exactly we're doing, how we intend to go, what exactly is the state of progress, and so on and so forth. So, if you have any queries, feel free to speak up. Uh, yes.